All right. Welcome once again to the Off the Rail Sports Podcast. I am John, and I am here with the host with the most, Scott. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, doing well. Check this out. Check this out, Jay. I think I
Okay.
got 6 winners since we've been doing this podcast this year. Woo! How about Dave
Wow.
Blaney? How about Dave Blaney, huh? What did I
Ryan, let's
call
call
that?
him Ryan Blaney.
Hey,
Let's use the correct name.
I'm
Okay.
just trying to get some trolls after us so we get some likes and comments on the Off the Rail Sports
Fred
Podcast, okay?
Blaney. Fred
Okay.
Blaney.
Hey,
Right.
that's how you get people to make sure they're listening to you when they
Yeah,
correct you,
exactly. Dave Blaney. I like it. I like it, Scott. You're an innovator. You're an innovator. Anything. He obviously got his first win of the year for Penske at Nashville. What did you think of the race?
The race was great. It was great. A lot of comers and goers. The pit road strategies worked out. The pit lanes had something to do with it. The hard concrete had something to do with it. Blaney was finally able to put it all together and not wreck, and his pit crew came on point. And he finally showed all the speed that they've been carrying all year. It's
Sure.
finally got here. I do find it interesting that last time, the other Penske driver that was struggling was Joey Logano and won this race, did go on to win the championship. Could we see
Right.
Penske getting 3 years in a row?
I definitely think Logano is in the mix. I mean, I
Yeah,
definitely, to discount Logano to win a title, especially with the current format, I think it's a fool's errand. I mean,
it
I
is.
definitely think he is. I mean, he's obviously pretty stellar in the chase, right? He's got that figured
Yeah.
out.
I mean, is
Oh,
that another reason why they possibly moving NASCAR back to Homestead because Penske has Phoenix locked up with their car?
I do think that it's a good idea for NASCAR to rotate the final
Oh
race,
yeah, I
personally.
agree. I agree.
Uh I got we were talking about Hocevar at 22, and I didn't realize he was that young. You've been kind of pointing him out this year. Do you think he might move to another
Yeah.
team?
I think I said it last podcast. I if I was Alex Bowman, I'd be worried about it.
Yeah,
This kid has speed. Bowman, yeah, he gets the wins. He's around. He hangs out with this, but he's in really great equipment. And then you look over at Hocevar that's in subpar equipment, and
right.
he's just making it, willing it to victory. Not a victory yet, but he's
Yeah,
getting there. Like, is he just over pushing the car because he's trying to make it happen? I don't know. You put him in the Hendrick car, 48 car, like what's going to happen if that is that guy just going to rattle off some wins and get to a championship? I'd be,
right.
if I was Bowman, I'd be worried. I'd be also worried if I was Gibbs in that 54 car. Like, Hocevar should be getting in a top ranked team. You
Yeah.
know that.
I would
I
think the
mean,
Gibbs one is definitely on the docket. I'd be
yeah.
worried because
Cindric needs to worry because his daddy messed up over in the Indy. You know.
yeah, well, nepotism, God bless. All
Yeah.
right, I'm going to set this up, and I'm going to need you to correct all my errors, but let's do it at the end. Okay. Just let me do the train wreck, and then you can help me out. Okay. So NASCAR is going to have an in season challenge. We have three more races that are going to set the field for a 5 race in season challenge, right? Now, the 3 weeks, the driver with his highest finish will be his seeding in there. They will go with Michigan, Autodrama, Hermanos Rodriguez. Please don't ask me what that means, and Pocono. Then they are going to have the TNT series is going to be 5 in-season challenge races: Atlanta, Chicago, Sonoma, Dover, and Indy. And the winner gets $1 million.
Right.
Okay, great. Okay, that's all well and good, but I don't know. Is this going to make for better racing, Scott?
I mean, it's like the Winston Million, right? Back in the day, they used to have the Winston Million where you
Sure.
would qualify and then you get the little red thing put on that the Winston cigarettes would put on, and I mean, you put money on the line and you put it inside championship. It does do something. I mean, doesn't the NBA do something similar too, where they have an inside?
Absolutely. They have an in-season challenge.
You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, when you're looking at, like, how many races they're doing, and you look at baseball, you look at NBA, it's like these guys are just putting time in at some point. It's like, well, how can we get this revved up so they can actually compete?
Right.
And then and going down to Mexico with that new racetrack that they're going to be racing at, nobody's knowing what's going to happen. Everybody's
Right.
putting money on VSG, to win that race. It's a road course. So that puts it in, and then you got the snoozer or Pocono. Something has to happen there. Yeah, I do think it will make it interesting. I think it will make it a little more funner. And we're gonna see some talent try to push, and we're gonna, I think overall talent, you're gonna see, can somebody actually compete against Kyle Larson in a championship format in a small venue like this?
Well, you're absolutely right. I think Kyle Larson is actually the King Kong of this whole thing. But I'm sitting here and I'm trying to understand. And obviously, summer is kind of that lull. It's kind of like baseball, right? July
Hmm.
and August, it's like we're just going through the motions. Maybe
Yeah,
this puts a little more energy into the sport. I don't know, but I am kind of interested in what's going to go down in Mexico.
yeah,
It does seem. I will say this to kind of do a little slight here. Brad Keselowski got the 32nd slot, beating out SGV Shane Van Ginsburg. For that, he was 20 points back or whatever it was. So there's 32 guys who are all racing in the next three races to get their slot in the 5 race field. The
right.
$1 million is great. I mean, anything NASCAR can do to kind of change the old stale formula, because honestly, I wish they wouldn't even be at Pocono. That literally, I literally would rather watch paint dry than what goes on at Pocono.
Yeah.
But I mean, they got to do something, right? They're
I mean,
trying.
it's a France thing. Like, he flew over it. He said, "Oh, look, and I can see a track there. It's a giant triangle."
Sure.
And we're gonna put Indy over here, and we're gonna put this turn over here, and we're gonna do this long straightaway of like Daytona. You know,
Right.
They should have put more banking in that track, and they should have done some other things, but they don't, because France built it. He designed it. That's the whole thing. And it's sad to see that. They do so many things at Bristol. They do, we're changing it up and trying to get the people in there and enjoying it.
Right.
And they don't do nothing at Pocono. It's just like, all right, here they drag race on the back. Oh, look, they're a five wide. Are they gonna wreck? Oh no, they've
Sure.
all got back in line. It's like,
Right.
it's a snooze fest. Yeah,
Well, there's a lot of tracks though that this is my perception, and
yeah,
for people who are new to it, Scott is the expert here. This is really in his groove. I'm kind of like maybe a casual fan, maybe a little more knowledge than the casual fan, but there's a lot of tracks I'm getting tired of they don't put any money into the track. I mean,
yeah.
they say, "Well, we haven't repaved," and the drivers
The j-
really like it
yeah,
when they can go over the bump here. I'm trying to think of what was that big bump we just saw like a month ago in the third
Texas,
turn, Texas. There
Texas,
you go. Yeah, thank you, Scott. And I'm
Texas.
thinking to myself, why aren't we fixing this stuff?
Yeah, yeah. Nashville as well. They have a
We're not
bump.
doing Dukes of Hazard here, right?
No,
We're
we're
not
not.
trying to see who can go off the jump in
Yeah,
turn three,
yeah,
right?
I mean, you got Daytona with the grass, which you always complain about. Like, why are we not
Yep.
astroturfing? And then
Yeah.
I think we went to Charlotte or somewhere, and they had the astroturf, and all the drivers were fine.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
yeah, I
Or paint
agree.
it
I mean,
green, or paint it green,
yeah,
paint concrete
yeah.
green,
Yeah,
whatever.
I agree. Like, F1 has these high standards, and
Yeah.
NASCAR, they just want to they want to be the backwoods type racing still, and oh, this is what separates. I mean, look at Detroit this past weekend at Indy. Like, these guys were like jumping like they're in Supercross on that street. It's
Right.
nowhere near as good as Long Beach. Long Beach Grand Prix. At least that track's somewhat smooth. I was
Or even
watching these guys.
Miami. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Absolutely.
watching these guys
100% correct.
losing traction. Your driver Palou finished 25th.
Yeah.
You giving some other people a chance to get back into the
Into
series.
the chase. Yeah.
Yeah, Andretti got 1 and 3. First and third. That's, hey,
So
and
why you're the
then,
best. Look at
hey,
you
hey, got,
bringing up some Indy the week after Indy. Yeah. Okay.
hey, I'm just
You knew
saying.
I wasn't prepared for that.
Hey, off the rails sports podcast.
Yes.
I got to be ready. Just like when I threw out bowling and Jay like came right back and threw a strike down the
Oh,
lane. Give me that
God.
turkey, boy. Give me that
Kyle
turkey.
True. Kyle Troop, God bless Jason Belmonte. I still, every so often I'll be driving, I'll be chuckling, saying, "That son of a gun, Scott, man, where did he pull that one out of?" I'm trying to get my lacrosse game up. Okay, so field hockey, and don't ask me what the
Right.
difference is field hockey and lacrosse. Okay, it's
I have
just a
no clue.
different
No
wicket.
clue. No
All
clue.
right.
I still don't understand rugby, but man, that's a man sport.
You know,
Oh,
you don't need if you don't understand rugby, okay? I played rugby kind of like for a little. Yeah, are you
there
there?
we are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm there. I
Okay.
got you.
Yeah, there you go. That's just the Eagles with their tush push, that's rugby. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
and I personally think that play should be outlawed in football, but hey, what are you going to do, right?
Hey, man,
Kumbaya.
not for long, right? Jays, not for long.
Nah.
Let's make some rules to make it more boring, all right?
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get to what I thought was the biggest story of the weekend. F1. They were in Spain, and obviously, the usual suspects won. Piastri first, Norris second, McLaren just dominating like Scott predicted at the beginning of the year. I don't even think Scott thought that they would be this dominant.
I
But
did
let's
not.
talk about Max Verstappen basically in turn 4 was told, let Russell go by you. Okay. I don't know what the dynamics of that were. And one of the great things about F1, and which just amazed me when I saw the data afterwards, was how they know everything that those gentlemen are doing inside that cockpit.
Yep.
So, just to give you a recap, the data showed that after Verstappen was told to let Russell go by in turn 4, he lifted, then he grabbed the brakes, he pumped the brakes 3 times, and as Russell started to pass him, he accelerated. They have all this data, and then he hit
Yep.
him, and he was given a penalty of 10 seconds and docked 3 penalty points. Do you think he should have been banned for the next race?
No, I don't think he should be banned. I don't think so. I see this kind of stuff in NASCAR a lot. It's like these are racers that are getting at it, and that's frustration by okay, I'm going to listen to you guys, but I'm going to wreck this fucker, or I'm going to try to wreck him. That's it's just how it is. I don't understand F1 where they keep telling people to pull over. I don't get it.
Right, right.
I'm here to win races. I'm here to get top. I took Verstappen at plus 6,000 because I thought maybe he'd be able to pull something off,
Ugh,
And I looking at McLaren going, I know they're going to win, but plus 6,000 for Verstappen? Come on, there has to be something there, right? But I
right.
wouldn't ban the guy. I wouldn't ban him like that. You know, it, it's just too much information to be able to see that. Like NASCAR has that same, they don't have as much information coming as F1, but it's, I don't know. I don't know. That's interesting. When you're putting under a microscope that much, that's insane.
Well, I will say this, that I applaud F1 because these are the fastest things
Yeah.
on earth, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're dealing with people's lives, right?
Yeah.
Now, to give a little backstory on Verstappen, that was his 11th penalty point in 12 months. One more penalty point, and he faces a potential race ban. Okay.
Right.
We don't know if they'll actually institute it. He's one of the superstars. I seriously doubt that they're going to show up at a race and Red Bull's number one driver isn't going to be there. But I'm going to give you an update on the point standings. Now try and get your head around this. Piastri is in the lead at 186. Norris is at 176.
And
Leclerc is at 94. Russell, 111. Verstappen, 137. He is almost 50 points behind Piastri, which I don't think anybody could have even seen a third of the way through the season, Scott.
yep. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I thought they'd be doing good, but I didn't think they'd be dominating. This
Right,
is insane. Like this is really insane to see this happening, with this McLaren team. They showed last year they had the speed, they showed that they had the better car, but to actually have drivers that are actually making it happen, and
Right.
Verstappen having no answer back. Like, they've been saying Red Bull's been bleeding money, bleeding speed. It's finally here. It's finally here. But I mean, it's
It is.
it's
It
amazing.
obviously is. You know, I obviously I don't think anybody can deny Verstappen's skill, but obviously him and Nico Horner and his dad, they have this weird type of love-hate, passive-aggressive relationship, and I wonder how long he's going to stay at Red Bull, considering he's having a substandard time. I mean, think about it. This is a four-time world champion.
Yeah,
This isn't a one-off type of guy. He's
yeah,
got standards, and isn't it that the same reason Hamilton left and went over to Ferrari because he's like,
yeah,
I'm a six-time champion. I'm not going to put up with this.
yeah. And but I mean, we're seeing Hamilton thinking that Ferrari was going to build to him.
Right.
They're staying their course. Ferrari's staying their course. They're not building to him.
So
He has to learn how to drive that Ferrari.
yeah, and I'm going to give you a little information here. We've got Leclerc. Okay, he's at 94 points, right? But Hamilton's at 71. Leclerc is kind of leaving Hamilton in
Yeah,
the dust. And just
yeah,
like you're talking about, maybe Ferrari isn't building to Hamilton. He's got to absorb what they're doing.
yeah. I believe that's how it works. I don't think he's. I really thought he was going to Ferrari, and they were going to bend the knee to him and set
Sure.
the car up how he wants it. And they're like, no, this is how we run it. You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that engine program and everything is totally different than what he's used to driving. He's been in that Mercedes, right, forever.
Yeah.
And now he's in a Ferrari that has a whole different engine package. You know, you could go from your Subaru to your Dodge and think, oh, there's no big deal, but then until you're doing 200 plus miles an hour,
Sure.
it's all of a sudden it is a big deal because you're figuring
Right.
out how it feels totally different. Like you being a big truck doing 100 miles an hour compared to a Subaru.
Yeah, that's
It's
it.
totally different. It's
Yeah,
totally different.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And let's be honest, you're dealing in a series where literally the most finite of differences mean victory or fourth. Right?
yeah,
I mean, we're seeing a controversy, and maybe you can give us a little explanation of what's going on about they're having an issue with the wings.
yeah.
That they're basically altering them during the course of the race. I don't know. I was looking at it, I was trying to read it, and honestly, Scott, my head exploded. I mean, I was like, what in the hell are they even talking about from a manufacturer standpoint?
Right. Well, they have in the front wing, there's three wings, right? Like they step in. And what's happening is as they're going, the wind's supposed to push up and push the car down, right? And
Right.
that's in turn, you want the more wind to push down the car to make that turn quick. But as you're going down the back straightaway, they're trying to flare that out and make it more slipstream where the wind's just going through and they're able to keep the speed up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
McLaren has something going on where it just barely changes a tenth of an inch or a hundredth of an
Right.
inch, and that's what's giving them that 100 thousandths of a second that you can't get around
Sure.
them. You know,
Sure.
where you should be having this big block of air that's opened up, and you're able to. So imagine yourself behind a big rig, right? And you're
Right.
driving up on the big rig, and you can actually feel your car start speeding up because the big rigs open up this
Right.
big old air pocket, and then it's actually pushing your car forward, like. So that's what's going
Right.
on, right? And
Right.
then when you go to pass them, you're like, oh yeah, everything's cool. And then next thing you know, you start feeling your car is doing a
Side
little bit of
force.
this. Yeah. you
Yes.
know
Right.
well, that's what's going on with these cars at a way quicker speed. And then you got Verstappen thinking, okay, the DRS has just engaged, I should be able to pass this guy. And he's like, why am I not sucking up to him as fast as I should be? And
Right.
these guys know what they're feeling and what they're looking at, like what they should
Absolutely.
be doing. Verstappen behind a Ferrari, he's like, boom, like, all right, that's all normal. And then he goes behind the McLaren. He's like, hey, what's going on? Why am I
Right.
not catching him as fast as I should be? You know,
Right. Right.
but
Because
if you ain't
basically all the
cheating, you
cars are
ain't
supposed to
winning.
be.
Yeah,
Right.
you ain't cheating, you ain't winning. So if it's a thousandth of a second that you figured out what you can get away with, 100,
Right.
materials, then that hats off to you. You did something, but
Right.
you get NASCAR where they're like, This is the product. Here it is. It's coming from so and so. Nobody else can make it. Oh, you altered it. Oh, you decided it didn't come with a nut, so you decided to make your own nut. Oh, sorry.
Sure,
Well,
sure.
yeah,
Absolutely. 100% correct. And you know what, Scott, to your point, that God, Scott, I'm telling you, I'm not just saying it because you're on the podcast. You really come up with some insightful stuff. That is what we saw at Indy. Like
yeah.
you literally were coming up on the same car and dealing with the same issue on every car, even though they're different
Yes,
manufacturers, right?
yes,
And in
yes.
Formula One, you're right. If he can pass, Mercedes, but all of a sudden when he gets to Red Bull, it's a different animal. Yeah, he knows what's real and what's not. So, and
Yeah,
that's how they find out where cheating is, right?
yeah,
It's all coming from the driver. He's like, hey,
yeah,
there's something not right with that car, and if you're Penske and Indy, you could just cheat, and then maybe Cindric can just say it's all good. Don't worry
yeah.
about it.
Hey,
Nothing to
hey, don't
see
worry.
here.
Nothing to see here. What your check is still coming for your 15th place finish.
Yes.
We still got P1. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. We're going to put in some new regulations next year after Indy. Okay,
Yeah, next
we've
year.
we've had the
Next year.
biggest scandal in Indy. The car that's in the museum from last year actually has illegal stuff on it, but we're not going to take that car out.
Yeah,
We're not going to
no,
take New Garden's win away. Don't you
no,
fret about it.
no,
We're going to
no.
run off a couple more.
Hey, this ain't the Heisman Trophy. Let you keep your trophy, okay?
Oh, you're the best. All right. You got any more thoughts on the world of auto sports?
No, I mean, that Indy race was pretty fun to watch. There was a lot of wrecking, a lot of jumping. I was very impressed with it. It
I
was pretty cool to watch.
I really enjoy the Indy 500. To me, I mean, it wasn't the usual last 10
Yeah,
laps where you see one or two passes. I think Palou really knew what he was doing. It was a master class by him. But, at the end of I still do not understand. And maybe we did talk about this. How did those two cars that were almost lapped keep ahead of Palou? I mean, usually the guys that are at the end of the tail lap, right, are
yeah.
falling off because they're not as fast. But literally the last 12 laps, they were as fast as Palou. And I'm thinking to myself, how is this just an aerodynamic thing? Or,
No, that's Palou with his spotter and his people telling them, hey, stay behind as long as you can. We're watching behind you because
right,
everybody's in the same fuel conservation mode. By
right.
him making that move when he made the move to get the first place,
14th lap, 14th
yeah,
lap. Yeah,
he knew that if he got that smell in front of him, that he can just stay there. And then if somebody was to attack, because they had
right.
a little more fuel, he would dial it up and attack. I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
it was
You're
just
absolutely
complete
right.
science. They're watching it, like you're saying, they're watching the fuel mappage and everything that these guys are going. Every in NASCAR F1, they're all watching everybody's mapping about how much gas they got going into turns. They're watching and making sure everything's going down the same. As soon as you see the one guy take off, they're going to tell Palou, you got to go now.
I think you're absolutely right. But I also think the other teams were thinking that Palou was going to be very tight on fuel. And I think
Yeah,
that was kind of a smokescreen,
yeah,
right? I mean, when they told him with 8 laps now, don't worry about it. At that point, he had the lead. It was like,
right.
okay, good luck, try and come and get him.
Yeah, I mean, and like it goes back to the mapping that they're mapping the fuel and they're seeing them like
Right,
these guys are so good about if I lift off here, I can coast in without hitting the brakes and my
sure,
time is still the same.
right,
It's the guy that goes, oh, I'm going to dive bomb you in, and yeah, our time is still going to be the same, but I'm going to get position on you. And
right.
he never had that happen against him. Everybody was in the same mindset about. And then you also got to think. Yeah, like we always say, everybody forgets who wins second or third or whatever, fourth or whatever.
Sure,
But that
sure.
check is still really nice that the guy came in P2. The guy that
Oh,
came
there's
in
no doubt.
P3, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That is
right.
his highlight of the career. And when this guy's looking for a ride next year and he can't find a ride until Indy comes and he goes, hey, don't forget I finished P2 last year.
No
Then
doubt.
then you see Andretti open the wall, you see AJ Foyt open the wall, you find, Ganassi opens the wall and goes, hey, we're gonna fill the car with this guy because he finished P2.
And that's the big rumor is Michaelis, who came in third, was going to take Will Power's spot over at Penske. I mean,
Yeah,
that seems to be the big, yeah, you're exactly what you're
yeah.
saying. everybody's looking to upgrade. It's like being in the
Yeah.
Premier League. They're scouting the other leagues to figure out who we can replace on the roster with an up and comer.
Can you imagine if Will Ferrell loses his ride,
Yeah,
right? He loses his ride, he disappears for a while because he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to retire." And then he
yeah,
goes, "Hey, I want to race the Indy 500." Do you not
sure.
think people are picking up that phone and going, "We'll put you in a car"?
There's no doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like Castroneves, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
can just walk out and go, "Hey, I want to ride," and they're going to be like, "Okay." Tony Kanaan, as a team owner, is going to go, I got a car." The Wood
Yeah.
brothers actually had two cars on the trailer, one for the Daytona and one for the Indy, right? I mean,
Yep.
just as a joke, right? There's
Yeah.
going to be some guy with a trailer is going to go, "I got a car,"
Yeah. Totally.
you
Yeah.
know.
As long as Kyle Larson don't wreck it. Yeah.
Maybe one day he'll finish both legs of the. Do you think we didn't talk about this? Do you think Kyle Larson's going to attempt that next year?
I don't know. That's a great question. I sure hope he does. I think he's in a small window. Kyle Busch talked about he had the chance of doing the double and he didn't do it. He's in such a small window that they're giving him this much talent and how much money's coming that way is interesting.
Sure.
I mean Prime, the drink Prime gave him so much money to be, as a sponsor. And
Hmm.
like I told you, like it's interesting to see that Hendrick.com whatever buy a car off their internet, it's still his only main sponsor. Like where
Right.
is another big sponsor? Like Hendrick is still, I know he makes a lot of money off his car dealerships, but it's interesting to me like why
But
hasn't
he
somebody
doesn't
else
have the
stepped up?
power of a Penske, right? Or,
I
he
don't
doesn't
know.
have that kind of, well, I wouldn't think
I don't
so,
know.
but yeah,
I mean, he's sponsoring Kyle Larson in the NASCAR. He's sponsoring him in the Indy, and then he has some sponsorship on some cars in the NHRA.
sure.
And then so, he's sponsoring. I mean, obviously, maybe he needs that big of a tax write off. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I
interesting.
don't know. Well,
I
you
mean,
would
where's
be able
Valvoline?
to.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. Where is Valvoline? Yeah,
yeah,
that's it's. But there is comes the symbiotic relationship between a very powerful organization. Penske got the deal with Shell because they agreed to, do some type of cross promotional thing, and
yeah,
we're going to use Shell in all our vehicles, and Shell's going
yeah,
to use Penske vehicles. I
yeah.
mean, that's where the rich get richer, right?
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. If you we'll put Pennzoil and Shell on all your stuff, but
Right.
as long as you only put this in all your Penske moving vans, then
Sure.
we're
Yeah.
good to go. Yeah, I mean, you scratch my back, I scratch yours type deal. I mean,
That's how it is.
it is interesting that the Indy 500, the Coca-Cola 600, Penske was nowhere near the front. I mean, we did have a little near to the front, but the 600 they're nowhere near, and all of a sudden
No.
they're up at the Nashville. It's like I really
Right.
think that Penske's like, we don't want to be anywhere near victory circle, we're going to give up these races. I really think that's
I
what happened.
I think you know what? You're onto something there. I think Penske, his primary focus is Indy and win the Indy 500. Okay. I'm not saying he's not devoted to NASCAR. I'm not
Yeah,
saying he's devoted to the rest of the Indy series, but that is the one race a year he goes, yeah, let's go. Let's get some juice
yeah,
here. I don't care if
yeah,
I don't win anything else. Okay. But this is the race. And I think they set up New Garden to win. Things just broke. That's auto racing. That's how it is. But
I
I
don't think they
definitely
broke.
think at the end of the day, everybody was like, we don't need any more spotlight on the agency
Yep,
right now. Let's just give up
yep,
this race. Let's give up two and just
yep,
get Joey Logano ready for the chase.
yep, yep,
You know,
yep,
whatever it is, right?
yep.
Okay. God, good content with you. Real quick. Who's winning the Stanley Cup?
Edmonton. There's so there's the Penguins and Edmonton, and I can't remember the last. Oh, the Panthers, I believe they lost. There's been three teams that done exactly what Edmonton's done, is they lost in the cup and then went back the next year and met their foe, and then ended up winning the championship. I'm going Edmonton in six.
Okay. I'm going with Florida, and I will disclose that I have a bet on Florida, and that's why I'm going with them. But we will see how it is. May the better team win. We shall see. I got to be honest with you. My heart is with Canada. I would love to see a Canadian team win the cup.
Yeah.
Okay, I know I got a bet, but it's 30 plus years of them not winning their home sport. That kind of really gets me. But
Yeah.
we shall
I
see
get it.
how it plays
I
out,
get it.
right?
I get it. Yep.
All right. Okay, that's it today for Off the Rail Sports Podcast, and we will see you soon.
Hi, buddy.
All right, you're good. You're good. Yeah, there we go. Shit. Let's see what we got. My mom calling me. Jesus Christ. Now I got to start doing some editing. God bless her. I never get a call from her. Now I'm getting two. Yeah, okay,
Mom, I'm
mom.
on the phone. Mom.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm on the effing phone. So what are you doing the rest of the day?
I'm gonna hang out with Turner, and we got the baby with Gwen, and then I gotta do some yard work.
Yard work.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that day yesterday was just fucking
Oh yeah.
brutal,
I was
man.
looking at those pictures. I was like, oh my God,
One
that poor
acre,
guy.
one
That poor
one
on a
acre
mountain. On a
on a
mountain.
mountain, and there's literally parts of it that are more than a 45 degree, and I'm like,
Yep.
I used to hang these seismics,
Yep.
and
Yep.
you know, I'm like, oh my God, a 55 degree. I'm like, holy
Oh
hell.
God, insane.
Yeah, I know. God bless, right?
Yep.
Right. And then I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, the hill's there's so many gophers that the hill's kind of unstable. But I'm thinking to myself, well, I could use my golf cleats and get more stand, but now wait for it. I think I'm going to go with the boots because then I can tuck my pants in there and I don't have to risk a Lyme disease or a tick or something like that. Because, with golf shoes, you really can't.
Yep. Yeah, I would go
So,
with the boots myself because it
yeah, I
keep you from
did. I did go
rolling
with
your
the
ankle.
boots.
You don't want to roll your
Yeah,
ankle.
yeah. Well, I'm more worried about ticks.
Yeah.
I've had a
Mhm.
couple friends who got Lyme disease, and that doesn't seem like it's too pleasant.
Now, put a little pine sol in your boots or around your
Oh,
boots.
really?
Yeah, it repels it, or coffee or
Oh, I
cinnamon.
didn't know that. Okay. I learned
Yeah,
something from you every day, buddy.
yeah, that's what I'm here for.
That's what you're here for. Scott, you're the best.
I try.
You're the best. All right, man. I will
All right,
talk to
brother.
you, okay? All right,
All
be
right, be
good.
safe. Late.
Okay, late, late.